Gayle Levee is an excellent artist. She's originally from Montana, third generation artist. She has mentored with, I believe, is it Robert Douglas Hunter, and teaches the Boston School of Art, which is fascinating because not only does it teach people how to draw, it also teaches qualities of light and color, bold color, and how to actually look at something and then paint it. It's quite amazing. I've taken classes from Gayle, they're excellent. She teaches at Plaza downtown, was mentored by Robert Douglas Hunter, and also painted from Matt Smith, who's he's a painter from, I believe, California. Anyway, please go ahead. She's going to be demonstrating for us exactly how this looking sight painting thing goes. So, off you go.
Thank you, Peach. It's great to see you. I'll be demonstrating here, and you know, if you're sitting over there, it seems like not the best place to be, but it's pretty good because you can see exactly what I'm doing. The reason I had to do this is because I need to be right beside my arrangement, and I'll explain more about that in a minute. But until I get into that, this is a book that I wrote, Learn and Master Painting. It's a full color book which goes along with all of these videos, and they are professionally done by a video company here in Nashville that hired me for this. So if you are interested in learning more about what I'm talking about today, I've got a couple of these sets here you could take home today. So just let me know if you're interested in that. What I'm talking about today, I've given various other workshops, and they've been, I mean not workshops, but demos, and they've been about my technique, or else they've been about how to put together a composition. Specifically today, I want to talk about sight-size painting and how that will help you with realism. And it's not always a still life. It works if you paint outside. It works if you want to do portraits. It's for not painting from photographs. And I think anybody who knows me know that I'm always so encouraging people to please paint from life. Photographs don't give you the information you need about color. They don't give you the information you need about shadow or even drawing or perspective. And they certainly don't give you the freedom that you need to make artistic decisions about your composition and about the way you're going to depict something. As an artist, what you're facing needs to come into your heart. It will. It's going to come through your eyes into your heart, and from your heart out your hands. And that's what makes it art instead of just a depiction. So being able to do that, and at the same time, if you're doing something that's realistic, being able to make it look real. So people look at it and they say, you know, I could reach out and touch that, you know? That's what I'm going to try to show you today. This is it's a classical way of doing things, and there's a couple different ways to do it. One of them was with a plumb bob, and my husband lent me this construction work plumb bob, which weighs 5 pounds, but it definitely will give you a straight vertical line. This is because the very first thing that makes something real is if it is being affected by gravity. If it has a center of gravity, and if you depict that center of gravity as being vertical, it'll be the first step toward making it look real, because everything that's not flying is affected by this. So this is a good tool to use to just find out where the center of gravity is on your subject. Get it straight. Get it straight. Find out where that center of gravity is. Kind of move over to your canvas and sort of get an idea of where you'd like that to be on your canvas. That's a good place to start. Another good tool is a brush in your hand and I know you've seen people in cartoons doing this. And the reason for that is because this will give you a sense of the size of your subject, and you can move that over to your canvas, and it'll give you a sense of how big it will look on your canvas. Now, one way that you can paint is right up at your canvas. Paint exactly what you're seeing from this angle. Close one eye. Put the tip of your brush on one edge of what you're seeing. Put your thumb at the other edge. And just move that over to your canvas. Now, if I were to do it this way, that little pepper would be this size on the canvas. Might be smaller than I want it, which is why you don't always want to do it this way. So we've got various methods. The easiest is absolutely what you're looking at. That size right there. Something a little harder is sight size, but you're standing farther away so you can get it to be more the size that you'd like it to be. And then if you want to get real hardcore, go for the plumb bob. Or if you're finding yourself tending to put things on a slant or something like that, just go ahead and go for the plumb bob. Go over here, make sure that your canvas is vertical, make sure that your lines are vertical. And I'll talk about this over and over as I do it, and anybody who wants to come up and get right close, don't be shy. I said don't put this thing here because people might want to get up here, but don't be shy. Squeeze through here. Come on up. Now, from showing you these different ways of measuring what you're looking at and getting it on your canvas, I will say that the ultimate goal is to train your eye. I always still do measure what I'm looking at, but I do first make initial marks on the canvas for where I think they probably are and the size I think I'm going to want them to be on the canvas. Then I check it with my brush or the plumb bob to see whether I got it right, and then I correct it. That way, the more you do that, the more you train your eye to see things more and more accurately. Sometimes I don't really need to check it, but I do anyway. I feel like I owe it to myself and to the subject and everything to just check, because it's kind of like a typo or something when you've written something and you read it through, you don't see the typo, somebody else has to look at it, or you need to print it and look at the printed thing and you'll see it. That's a way I can just check myself, make sure that I got it right. So I got these things to paint, and I chose them because I like the colors. I'm going to be looking at it from back here for the most part. This is where I'm going to be doing my measurement. So I'll keep my paints back here. Anybody who's taken a class with me and had me take their paints and move them into a table on the other side of the room, who's here that's had me do that to you? I'm not being mean, it's the way it's done. And part of the problem with painting is we get so involved, especially if we sit, we get so involved with what we're doing, we get closer and closer and closer to where we're, like maybe I'd be seeing this little area of the painting and I'm getting this just perfect, I'm not seeing the forest for the trees if I'm up there all the time, looking that close at it. So I'll be working from about this angle. So now from this angle, what does that all look like to me? I want to get more shadow on the end of this pepper. So I move it, go back and look at it. Let's see if I can get past shadow from this one onto the other one. I move that and look at it. I'll move a little bit further so there's a better sense of depth. We've got so many different light sources here, and they worked with me for quite a while to get this to work. I think that's enough. Let me give it more space. A lot of what we do is just stand and look at things. It's really not a race. The longer you stand and look, the better it's going to be. So, my shirt lost so many buttons that I'm not even going to try buttoning it. Tried to find the buttons before I came over here. I know I kept them, but I got it. So, and if it gets into the paint, I'll just forget about it. So, now what I want to do first, I want to make this arrangement fit nicely on my canvas. So I'm measuring, right now I've got the top of my brush on that little nubbin that sticks out the top of the pot. And I have my thumb lined up with the bottom of the yellow pepper. Can you all see this at all? No. Okay. If you can't, please get to where you can see, and don't be shy, don't be polite. Now from back here, my arrangement looks like it's this size. From the top of the copper or the brass pot to the bottom of the pepper, the whole thing looks like it's this size from back here. So I'm not going to walk up here with it because I don't want my painting to look this size on this canvas. What I'm going to do instead is close one eye and look at it from back here, because from back here, that gets small and so does this. It looks, and where it's lined up on the canvas, then I'm going to turn my brush this way and see how wide it is side to side. And this is just about square, not quite square, side to side, from that point to that point. Just a little less than square. So I'll see how that's going to lay out on my canvas. See where I want to put it. I'm thinking what I want to do. I think I'm going to let that orange pepper run off the canvas. And that'll make kind of an interesting composition. So I'm just kind of thinking. I'm doing a lot of thinking here. And this is an important thing to do. Plenty of thinking before you get started. Kind of know what you're going to do. And if you do that, then when you get started, your painting will be all nice and loose and everything. It'll look like you just slapped it on there, but that's your secret that you didn't. You have a plan. Creativity, I think, requires flexibility, but it also requires a certain foundation of having a clue about where you're going. So, now that I have a clue about where I'm going, make a couple little marks, kind of like this. This to be here, this to be down here, that here running off the canvas, and that may be like that. So, these are just marks I made for myself that won't make any sense to anybody else. So back here, I'm using this as my measurement, this line that's in the formica. That's for where I'm standing. Okay, that works height-wise. That works width-wise. Okay, so the height of this thing is going to be here. The spout will be like that. The yellow pepper will be down here. The orange pepper will be running off like that. Now when I come up here to the canvas to make marks, I need to make sure, I can be looking at this, but I need to make sure to remember that this changes. This looks different from here, a lot different from here than it does from back here. So I can be double checking color or something like that, but I'm not going to double check drawing when I get up there. So now I'm squinting. I know everybody's heard all about squinting. I'm going to see how wide that orange pepper is. Okay, I'm going to see how wide the yellow pepper is. I'm just double checking my drawing here. I do have it right so far. Now I'm going to go ahead and take the plumb bob. Take a look at what's going on with that pot. The top of the pot coming right through that yellow pepper, right where the pepper turns from its side to its front. That's a good thing to know. The yellow pepper kind of does this. Top of the plumb bob goes right through that. I get what I think is a vertical line. I can double check it this way by putting my finger along the edge of the canvas, the brush like that. Pretty much vertical. Another way, of course, to check it is with the plumb bob, which I don't have to do because I've got it pretty much vertical. And now, go ahead and put that shape going. This will mark the gap. I like this line that comes up here. I like this little negative space that happens right in here. Okay. Now, this thing bilaterally symmetrical. Can you hear me okay back there, everybody? It's bilaterally symmetrical.
There you go.
There you go.
Got it.
Okay, so I think it's probably about this wide up the top. We'll double check. Go back here and double check. We got it right. Nope, I don't have it quite wide enough. So I widen it a little bit more. Go back here and double check. See how that works? I'm going to see how far down from the top to the place where it gets wide. I call it the belly, the little pot belly there has. Right about here. Since I've got the right width. See if I have the pot belly right here. Double check the height. Okay. So you see how I'm doing this? I'm kind of going back and forth, double checking things. You see how this line across the top, this line is the diameter of what I can see of this ellipse to the top plane of that pot. It's the diameter. If you, I'm going to draw over here, hopefully you can see. If you draw that line and you think that's the top of something, and you think that the roundness of the ellipse is going to go below it, your drawing will be wrong. You make sure that that line goes through the diameter, and that your plumb bob line goes through the middle of it like that. You have this thing like that. Making sense? All right. Okay, good. So this is called structured drawing when you do this. And then down here, I make all of these ellipses for the bottom of the thing. And this drawing is going to get more and more accurate as I push these lines together with negative space. But right now I'm going to see how far out the handle sticks. Sticks out to just about, let's see, how can I say this? The widest point of the handle is right there. Now what I did, and you can do this with the plumb bob if you have trouble holding your brush vertical, but this right here, I measured the widest part of the handle and I went down to see where it crossed this line. That's what that was all about. So now what I can do if I want to, I can do this to get that line going up again to about where I think the widest part of the handle should be. Is that making sense? Now I'll double check where I put that, see if I put it in the right spot. Yeah, it's okay. So now, get that curve going. And this, like I say, you do this with landscape and portrait. Any animal that will sit still for you. An interior, a sleeping child or one who's watching TV, you can do that. This is how you make sure to get it right. Okay, now that handle is higher than I sketched it. The handle actually goes clear up to here. Go up to the top of the pot. There. Now see how far out it is width? How far the width is. And it's about as wide out as the top of the pot is wide, so measurement of the top of the pot, and I've got it about right. And then it comes in just about where the belly of the pot starts. And just below the belly of the pot. So that part of the drawing, that's as much as I need to do with that part of the drawing. Let's double check that. I'm not sure about that curve. I think it needs to be more vertical than we have it. So I measure the negative space between the handle and the pot. And yes, I need to correct that curve. I've got it sticking out too far. So I'll correct that. I'm using the trusty rag for corrections.
Is she using acrylic paint? What is it? It's
And now I want to block in color. You notice that I have blocked in where this yellow pepper would be. And you see how I made all these ellipses and stuff go right through it? That's called drawing through, and it's a way to make things look like they're really behind other things. If you try to draw something here, and you have something else behind it like this, and you make the lines come right up to the thing that's in front, you won't really, especially if there's some lines that might come through on this side, or maybe have to line up for something else that's happening back there, it's really hard to get that right. It's way better to draw it as if it's really there, with the other thing in front like that. So you can initially sketch in your thing in front, but when you start drawing the thing behind, draw it as if the thing in front isn't there. And then put the thing in front. And it just comes out, it's just easier, it looks better, it just works better. So I have this basic drawing on here now, and I'm not done drawing. I'm not done correcting the sizes of the shapes and the angles and the negative areas. I'm not done correcting all that, and this is just a place to start. I'll start blocking in the color now, and while I work with the color, I'll be continuing to correct the drawing because I will continue to come back here to this line in the Formica and make these measurements just to double check. And now I want to think about matching color. And this is why it's a good idea to have a palette that you can carry. You start matching the color that you're looking at. Classic Impressionist palette that led to the Munsell color circle that we all learned in kindergarten. And I'm squinting at this yellow. It's really not very bright at the end here. It's kind of orangish on the left. And on the end, has a little bit of blue in it. Pull that down. I get my color note on my brush, and then I hold it up in front of the thing and just check. So these marks are dark. It's cast shadow there. The dark one's on the side. Here, look at it. more. Now sometimes I use a tone canvas. If I want colors that really glow, especially in the reds and oranges, I don't use a toned canvas because I want to use transparent paint directly on that white canvas so that it looks brighter. So this time I chose not to use a toned canvas. But you do wind up with some problems matching your colors because of the white. The white is such a strong contrast. So sometimes, it'll take a while. You just adjust and adjust until you have it the way you want it. Okay, now I want to work on trying to get some of the darker orange going. And right now I'm just giving a little bit of attention to drawing. Most of my focus right now is on matching these colors. I'm kind of using the drawing that I already have for this. I will be adjusting drawing 2 in a little while, but not right now. I'm really giving my full attention to these colors. The medium I'm using is Gammell solvent-free gel, which I like for traveling because it doesn't have fumes and doesn't spill. Getting these color masses in also helps me make decisions about the composition and make sure I like the composition. I don't get really involved with getting things. I don't really get tremendously involved with making things detailed or anything at this point because I might decide I don't like the composition. I might decide I want to move something, I mean, I'm usually pretty confident about it, but this might not be one of those times. So you really never know until you get into it. And there's a sort of rule of thumb that Robert Douglas Hunter uses, which is that painting is kind of like herding a little herd of sheep. And what you want to work on is each note that you put down is the note that's least like the arrangement over there. So beyond getting my measurements on there, and now I'm putting color notes, I'm trying to get color notes on there. Each note is going to be to bring the next thing up a little bit closer to what I'm seeing on the arrangement, rather than getting very involved with any one of these things that I'm looking at. So I just want to make it look a little bit more like what I'm seeing over there each time I make a note. Now I really like the reflected light on the pot. When I first moved to Boston from the West, I was really underwhelmed by what appeared to me to be a lack of creativity in the art in the galleries there. Can you all hear me? Probably not. But after I learned more about the Boston School and what that was all about, I realized that it wasn't a lack of creativity. It was the presence of a very long tradition of excellence. And I decided I wanted to be part of that. So I went ahead and learned about it, and I've been really happy to be able to have that be part of my life. And putting these marks, these are the reflections of the peppers in the pot, and I'm putting them where I see them in relationship to that pepper. I will, when I'm done, pretty soon now, I'm going to double check again the sizes of these relationships and make sure I'm not screwing it up. But I'm not ready to do that just yet. I think that I've got a mark right here, orange. That's where those orange marks need to go. I'll double check. I'm double checking the width of the pepper and the width of the placement of the orange mark on the pot. Looks like it's about the same as the width of the pepper from the left side of the pot. So I double check that and I've got it exactly right. I'm double checking the long orange mark. It is directly below, it's directly above the stem of the yellow pepper. It's hard to say this stuff, guys. Luckily for you, you don't have to try to narrate this while you're doing it. Just focus on what you're doing, you know? All right, so there's that one. And I think there's a little reflection of orange on this and a little bit on there that I'm going to put. Now I want to get some of the gold for the pot. And that's kind of a greeny color. I want to get the reflected light on the left. The reason I'm not working dark to light right now is because when I start working dark, it's going to be that negative shape, and the negative shapes are going to come right into the pot. So I kind of want to have some of these placed on the pot before I get into that. Some of my students gave me a brush that's 3 times this long a few years ago, and it was kind of a joke, but I realized after they gave it to me that it was really good to have. Because with a larger composition, in order to be able to see the entire arrangement and the entire canvas, you have to get farther away. And so I was able to say, okay, I would like a note of yellow right there, and I could reach and put the little note from back here, you know, and then, so it actually was a good thing. And then I saw a photograph of Picasso working on Guernica, and he had a brush that same length, and he was reaching down and doing something down here. So, you know, it's not just weird. It works. People do it because it works. Now the idea of not getting real detailed on your first pass means that you will do multiple passes like this. So my paintings are made of several layers. I don't try to, if I want to change something, I don't get picky at that little area the next day if I come in and want to do some more. I don't just get picky at that little area. I kind of work over the whole canvas and bring everything up to the next level of excellence, you know. Some of them take about a month of doing that. That mark is not right, it's not cool enough. So I add some more white to it. Cool it, still not cool enough, it's a lost cause, I'm going to wipe it off. See how I didn't fall in love with that mark, right? Don't fall in love with anything, just everything until you're done. It's fair game to get wiped off. So I make a cooler mark. White wasn't enough to cool it. I'm going to have to add some blue or maybe some green. We'll see. Another version of it. Yeah, that's better. And that mark changes shape drastically as I move forward and back. So I have to look at it from the same angle every time. There's another couple little marks over there that may or may not be important. Cool mark right there. These are cool. Okay, now go ahead and get a bunch of the dark brown one. If you want to take a break while I'm mixing up this dark brown, this would be a good time to walk around. Still, I'm going to start with the shadow. I'm going to start with the cast shadows.
Right now, 75.
It's a dark color, and it's a shadow color.
Chicken wings.
It goes right up into the pot, so I'm not going to worry about the growing of the pot. And all of these areas, the interesting thing about something that's shiny is that you get your drawing, but then you don't stay in the drawing. Because most of what's here is reflecting other things. Reflecting the background, so, or else things that are beside it. So the things that are beside it, or that are reflecting into it, become part of the object. I'm going ahead and letting this right-hand side of this object disappear into the background, because that's the way it's doing. You get a little lighter right here. This is how we make it look like it's transparent. They're not transparent, it's totally reflective.
She's using a big brush through the whole thing.
Now I'm working some of the reflected light. The brown is reflecting up into some of these shadow areas, so some of these lower planes on the peppers. And the color of the pepper is reflecting into the brown. Kind of working that in and softening these edges. I don't want to get too much in love with this process because I need to, we've got all of this that really doesn't look even marginally like that setup, so I need to get to it. Let me just soften this while I have it on the brush. Go ahead and get this going. Kind of paint into my drawing. Because like I said, I'm going to be continuing to draw as I work on this painting. Continuing to measure and double check and move things around. So this drawing, this initial drawing that I did is not, it's not something that I'm going to color in. I don't color around the edges and I don't color in that drawing. It's just a place to start. I'll be continuing to adjust and change the drawing as the work progresses. This handle, you see how I'm painting through the handle and kind of leaving little bits of it showing? I'd rather not have to remeasure that whole thing, so I'm leaving little bits of it showing, but painting through it. See that? Soften that edge. And give this background some interest by giving it some variation. It's just a piece of cloth. It's just the purpose it serves to the painting is to give us a background. I don't need to make it look like a piece of cloth. I don't care about the folds that are in it. Sometimes maybe I would, because sometimes maybe they'd be interesting, but this is not one of those times. I'm going to make this corner a little darker because my light source is flowing from the left to the right, so there'll be a little less light on the right than there is on the left. And over here, a little lighter for that same reason. A little bit more of my yellow and light and orange in the mixture. I didn't add white for the lighter area. I would have made it chalky. So I added orange and yellow. Make it lighter over here. Same thing over here. It can kind of be bleeding off of the color of it. There is a fold right there that we kind of like. And then it sort of points in toward our setup. It doesn't see there, it does. Sometimes we'll get to incorporate this fold. Now that I've got all that covered up, now as far as I'm thinking in terms of what's least like my setup, and that background really had to get covered up because it was a big old area of white that was not at all like my setup. So now the area of white, the canvas that needs to be covered is this one right here. And I don't know what time it is or how long I've been doing this. How long has it been? Do you know?
It's 2:30. No.
I don't know when the meeting ended.
You've been 1 hour.
About an hour? Okay, now my classes are 3 hours long. And very often, by the end of 3 hours, people will still have big areas of white canvas that's uncovered. And I'll be like, please cover the canvas before you eat lunch. I don't care, it's just get rid of that white, so, or even the tone color is still not going to be the accurate color. If you can just get the canvas covered, your first go around, that's a pretty good goal to have. Okay, now, so I'll cover up the last of this white. There's a dark area right here. And it kind of goes up like that. And I can't identify it. I don't exactly know what it's reflecting.
The shadow is both.
Yeah, so I don't try. I don't try to identify it. I need to not identify it, because if I do that, then my analytical brain will come in and it'll say, oh, well, that should look like whatever it is that it's reflecting. That should look like a cow or something, and it doesn't. It's just a shape. I need to think that it's just a shape and leave it at that. I also want to adjust the shape of it. It's a little different from what I made. Okay, that's more like it. Okay, now, before I get much more involved in this, I need to cover up that white canvas. So I go ahead and do that. And this is so tricky right at this stage, because you're so fall in love with the area you're working on and you want to finish it. You know it's not quite the way you want it, and you want to make it better, but you've got to bring these other areas of the canvas up to the level as the part that you're just working on. That's how you keep the canvas unified. Because if you're doing it right, you could conceivably stop after the first hour. And you've got the canvas covered, you've got a nice loose painting, you could stop. If you choose to make it more finished, then you come back to it again next day and paint over the whole thing, only more finished. Because a lot of these questions will have been answered by that time. And you can. This one, I came back over it for about 3 weeks. But it had this sort of loose look when I first finished it. And the loose look is a lot of fun, but everybody does it, so I go a little further. And one of the things about that is that this first day is the difficult day. It's the day that involves all the measuring and the matching colors and all that stuff. After that, I can just kind of lose myself in the painting and get really, really fall in love with what I'm seeing in reflected light and in beautiful contours and lost edges and all that loveliness. So I just enjoy continuing until I get to a further degree of finish than what we're having. Nice little streak. Like that. Now I've got the canvas covered. The part that really doesn't look at all like the setup is this. I don't have this green element right there. I'll put the green in, and this would be, after I get that green in, it would be a good stopping point. I can let it dry. One thing that I do when I am working on them, if there is an area of paint quality that I really like, I don't necessarily paint over that. If it's something that happened on the first day that is a nice juicy brush stroke that I like, I don't necessarily wreck that. Mr. Hunter that I worked with does. At the end of every day, well, he's dead now, but at the end of every day he would not scrape, but he'd put paper on the painting, put it on the painting, lift it up, and that would get rid of any juicy brushwork that was there, because he went for a real flat look. But I kind of like sometimes having these nice fun brush strokes, so I don't do it that way. So my work has a little more texture to it. I'm fine with that. It's, everybody's going to have a different sort of thing. And I think how finished you make your painting really is your own business. I really got kind of irritated, or still do, when people say, oh, you got to paint loose, you got to paint loose. Okay, painting loose is fine, but having something a little more finished is fine too. And abstract is fine. I think there's room for everything in this world. And I like creativity.
Gayle, are you finding your lost edges as you work, or you refine those when you started your sketch?
Whether an edge is lost or not has to do with what I see when I reach that point. If I have a color in here and I put another area next to it, if it looks like it needs to be lost, I make it lost. Like that. Now, some of the real fine blending of edges would take place later on today, as it dries, I would do some real fine blending, but that's like watching paint dry, right? I'm not So I'll just kind of get this green in here and then call it a day. Because what I wanted you to see had to do with that side size method. I'm hoping you saw me stepping back and forth the whole time. And when I get to the end of a large painting, my palette will be back here. And I'll be walking back and forth this much all day long. It's aerobic exercise, guys. You don't have to join a gym when you do this. Rosemary brushes when I want to get a sharp edge. And I use silver brushes when I want something more soft. And I think I'm about ready to call it a day. I want to adjust the yellow a little bit on the yellow pepper, the lip side of that yellow pepper. This would be a good stopping point. So, tomorrow what I would do, well actually later on over the next period of time, what I would do is maybe adjust some edges, but maybe not. I might, I probably wouldn't actually. This is probably where I would stop this one for today. Then tomorrow, I would measure everything all over and look with the plumb bob, you know, and I'd start with the background and bring another layer of paint into the background because of these edges, these locked edges around this pot. Then I would paint the pot again, paint this one, then that stem, in order from back to front. And that's what would get it looking really realistic. If I wanted it to be more painterly, I wouldn't do that. I'm kind of leave it the way it is. This is the painterly look that's really popular, but I prefer to have a little bit more finish to things. I just have some fun with that. So, have you got questions?
Did you say what was on the Boston palette?
I can list it for you. And it is in order. It's like, I don't just squeeze them all out. They are in order as if it was a color circle. And if you were to take the alizarin crimson, you could make this into a circle. This is the color wheel, is what this is. So in order to do it, lay it out in this order. Alizarin crimson, cadmium red deep, cadmium red light, cadmium orange, cadmium yellow medium, cadmium yellow light, white, which I use titanium white, viridian, cerulean blue, and ultramarine. If I use any of the neutrals, like burnt sienna or burnt umber or any of that, I put them over on the other corner of my palette.
Did you have two whites? You have two whites?
No, just the one.
Just titanium.
Titanium, that's what I use.
And no black?
I don't have black on this, that's not part of this, but I do use it sometimes. I just put it on a different part of the palette, over in the other corner. There's black in this one. There's black in this one. Sometimes I'll use it if I want to get that particular effect, you know?
So today you use, is that the brown, is it Paston or?
I made that brown by mixing cadmium red light, cadmium orange, and ultramarine blue. So that way it's not just all one color. You see that there are variations in the brown. There are variations in the brown. If I just squeezed some brown out, it would all be just one flat color. So I want to have Some of the brown needs to be showing light, some needs to be showing darkness, some needs to be showing reflected light from the objects. Some of it needs to be, reflected into the objects. So it's part of this observation, part of this stepping back and observing rather than just coloring it in, is being sensitive to what light is doing and how light is flowing and how it's bouncing around off of things and getting lost under things and things like that. So that observation, that's to me, that's the joy of representational painting, just observing what's really happening in life. If I don't want to paint from life, I'll do an abstract, I don't ever copy photographs, ever. Just not fun.
And you don't use any smelly, like oil, mediums.
Yeah, I don't use any smelly thinner or anything like that. I have asthma and I used to use turpentine, and until I got diagnosed with asthma, I quit using it. My fingernails used to bleed when I used turpentine. And then even when I shifted, I went to using odorless thinner, my fingernails still bled. Gamblin finally came up with Gamsol. Gamsol is a very, very good product that I recommend. Doesn't smell, doesn't wreck your fingers. And then the Gamblin solvent-free gel is the medium I'm using today. That has no smell. You can fly with it in the plane, they don't care. Very good products.
What about the citrus cleaners, the new non-toxic?
I haven't used those except for cleaning my dried paint off of the palette. I'll use the citrus stuff for that, and that's pretty good. But I don't use it all the time.
Yeah. You ever use an underpainting?
Yes, actually this, the way I paint, this is an underpainting.
Okay.
It's a full color alla prima underpainting. A lot of times if it's a really complicated subject, I'll make a brown underpainting. And when I'm painting outside, I'll very often do an underpainting of yellow for the light, blue for the shadow, and brown for the other shapes, so that as the light moves, I'm not chasing that. I've already got it there. So.
What a wonderful treat.
Well, I'm so glad you're okay.
Yes.